Hi, and welcome to Building a Free Website. I'm Dante St James. We're going to explore a little bit about Google Sites, Wix, and Square by Weebly, which adds an e-commerce edge to it as well. So you can build your own website for free without spending a lot of money and potentially avoiding some very big costs down the road. I think we've all had a quote from a website developer like myself and just going, whoa, how in the heck am I going to be able to afford that? So what we'll do today is go through some of these free options with you. This is brought to you by the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program, delivered by Business Station, and in Queensland delivered by Regional Development Australia Brisbane, and in the Northern Territory by Treaty Business Consulting. This will also be available on YouTube a little bit later. Business Station has been really quick about getting these online lately, and so have I. So in about an hour or two, this should be available on YouTube to be able to view again. If there's something that you've missed along the way that you'd like a bit more clarification on, you'll be able to see it in there. In addition, you'll also be able to, let me just quickly change my microphone over to something a little clearer. That's better. Excuse me, the chat window is open, as is the Q&A. So if you want to ask some questions along the way, I'm more than happy to answer those to those who are live on the call right now. If you're on YouTube, please just put your comments below. I will get those and I'll be able to answer those as soon as possible for you as well. What we're going to look at is the pros and cons of using a free website. We're going to look then more closely and in action at building a Google site. We're also going to look at building a Wix website in the free version, and also the Weebly and Square integration, which is building an e-commerce website for free using the Square integration with Weebly's website builder. So first of all, a little bit about me. I work with the ASBAS program, as you've probably worked out by now. I also work in the NICE program, New Enterprise Incentive Scheme with the Australian government, and the Be Connected program, bringing digital skills to older Australians. A background in education through University of New South Wales, the Chartered Institute of Marketing, and long time ago when I was a doctor, to the University of Western Sydney. And I've also a training partner with Google's Digital Springboard program and the Boost with Facebook program with Facebook Australia. Enough of me, let's get on with it. You might have heard this story before, that you can have it good and cheap, but it won't be fast. You can have it good and fast, but it won't be cheap. You have it fast and cheap, or it won't be good. This is particularly telling in the world of free websites. If you want to build a really quick, cheap website, it's not going to be any good. But if you want a great website that's fast to build, it's not going to be cheap. If you want a good and cheap website, it's not going to be fast to build. In today's quadrant, I think where we're going to sit is more so in the, you want a good website that's cheap or even free, then it's probably not going to be super fast for you to build it, because you're going to have to do this on your own. That's not so bad though, if you've got a little bit of time to spend on your weekends or after hours, and you really want to learn this for yourself. You got to bear in mind too that the cost of your time, as opposed to the cost of someone else's time. You may find that this is something which you can gladly learn about, and you'd be really happy to learn a new skill and get to know how to build a website. But then you may not be very technically capable at all, and thinking this is the most boring thing you'll ever do in your life. Therefore, it's going to cost you a lot more in your time than you wish. Do I recommend that you use a free website or use a web developer? This is completely and utterly up to you, whether you've got the time to spend to learn a new system, or whether you really don't have that time. You've then got to have the money to pay for someone to do it for you. So the pros of getting yourself a free website are all going to be around the fact that it's simple to build. Now, in these free website builders, because they're built to be used by you with very little interaction with a web developer, or no development, no support from anybody to actually show you how to build these websites, then you can then say, well, this is very likely going to be something which is really simple to use. And all three of the tools we're going to use today are basically as simple as it gets with building a website. All in one is one big feature that comes with these free website builders as well, that it's both the website builder itself and the web hosting, so that you don't have to pay separately for web hosting. Although that said, you're still going to pay for your domain, which is one of the cons later on. The free factor is also very big because there's no cost to use the basic end of these services, but you can purchase premium features later on. If you want to add a calendar plugin, if you want to add a domain name, any of that sort of stuff, you can pay a little extra and it'll actually give you that option later on. The cons of using a free website, though, come in the form of you not having a domain name included, so you have to buy that separately, or it's an upgrade. They don't often, some of them don't even include in their service the ability to have a .com.au email address, URL or web address with it at all. You'll have to then just have a .com or something in the .com.net.org. Not probably the best way of going about it if you're an Australian business, but that may be something you're willing to, overlook. There's limited support in these free venues, so you'll have to find your own way around. So if you're expecting to pay a bit more, you'll get a lot more support. If you're expecting to get something for free, you're probably not going to get a lot of support, if any at all. In the case of Google Sites, I don't know of any valuable support that there is at all. But in the case of Wix, there is some support even for free users, as well as with the Weebly and Square integration as well. There's often very poor search ranking factor when it comes to these free services, mainly because you're not including a domain name in there. When you have a domain name, it makes your address of each page a lot shorter, which Google likes. If you have a long, complicated name, it's going to be, you'll be able to see a bit of an example of how long some of these names can be and how that could really affect your searchability. And also the memorable aspect. If you're trying to sell something, just go and visit my website. It's at buymystuff.com. There's a lot easier than saying it's at wixsites.com/user/1237598AC. It's not going to be an easy thing to put on a business card or to put in an ad somewhere. But where you'll find that it's very, very useful for this is depending upon whether you are basing your traffic to your website as something that you're going to deliberately send there from ads on Google or ads and posts on Facebook, or whether you're going to be relying upon people fortuitously finding you through searches on Google. Now, if that's the way they're going to find you, then you're going to have great SEO. But if you're only ever going to be relying upon links coming from other places directly to your site, say from Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, TikTok, or ads on Google, not organic results, just ads on Google, it actually may not matter to you that you don't rank well in Google, because the fact is that you're sending your traffic all there yourself anyway, so you're not expecting people to find you by accident. And that may be a good thing to run if you're just running a once-off campaign to sell a whole bunch of widgets and you're going to get rid of them and you don't need to see those widgets again. But if you've got a product and a brand that you're trying to build, if you're trying to sell, say, for instance, your own services that are attached to a brand or to your name, then not having a recognizable, easily recalled domain name can actually come up against you. And also, if people are looking for you next time to buy something similar to what you've got, unless you're sending them an email after the purchase saying, here's the address to go to if you ever want to buy another one, you're relying upon people finding you in Google. And if you don't have good SEO, that's probably not going to happen. First up, we're going to look at Google Sites. Now, this is included with your Google account and Gmail. There's an unlimited number of sites you can set up within Google Sites. It's free to use all the features that are on there, but it is very limited in terms of the layouts. And you're about to see this one first, and the features that you can use within it. It doesn't have a lot of plugins. It doesn't have a lot of extra capabilities. It certainly does not have e-commerce plugged into it. You can, though, add a domain name later on, just a .com name. There's no .au kind of names in there just yet, but you can add a .com address at a small cost. It works out between $12 and $22 to get your domain name as a .com, so you can actually make this a real website that goes through. Now, you would think that a Google website would rank really well in Google, wouldn't you? That's not necessarily the case. Some of the other principles of SEO, such as making sure you're writing good content around your website, having a great domain name for your website, and making sure the site is fast as possible, are still going to apply when it comes to your free website with Google Sites. The second one we'll look at will be Wix. It's the world's most popular all-in-one website builder, second only these days to two systems called Joomla and one you might have heard of, WordPress, are the two bigger ones aside from that. Wix is getting to be the number two very, very shortly. You can create an unlimited number of free sites with Wix. That's not a problem. It is free to use some features like the basic layouts and the basic features. But once you add calendars, booking systems, e-commerce, all the sort of added on expanded stuff that you may want to your website, that's going to cost you. You can add a domain name as well. but that will come at a cost as well. And some of the costs can rack up pretty quickly with Wix, but it can start as little as about $9 or $14 US a month. They don't have an Australian calculation, which is very, very annoying. Square and Weebly, though, have teamed up. Now, Square, you may know as those little payment things. You'll often go to cafes and market stalls and they have them. It's an easy way for very small businesses to take credit card payments in person. So they can, take PIN numbers, or if you want to just beep and pay it by touch and go, it's really, really simple to do. They've teamed up with another web builder called Weebly, which is very much like Wix, perhaps a little bit more simple and not quite so Google oriented. But it allows you to build what is a free e-commerce, so a free online store. So it does include that capability of having an online store. You do require, as part of that, to have a Square payment account. Now, whilst it's going to cost you about $50 to get a Square payment grid, you are then also going to have to pay for the fees for each transaction that goes through there. The good news is, though, that Square's fees are around the cheapest that you're going to find. They're lower than PayPal, they're lower than Stripe, they're lower than any of the banks who, if you want to get an FPOS machine, they are really quite low compared to the others. And so that makes it a very good choice for a small business to have. And you can buy little Square things. I believe they sell them at JB Hi-Fi. Officeworks used to sell them. I'm pretty sure they still do. Or you can just buy them from the website, which is squareup.com, Square and then the word up.com. You can pay to upgrade to get a domain. You can pay to upgrade to get different facilities and integrations. If you wanted to connect your Square Weebly site with Facebook, for instance, and have a Facebook shop that's dynamically updated with your new products, that can be a little bit of a problem because the integration between Weebly and Facebook isn't perfect. That's on Weebly's side. They need to upgrade that significantly, and it's been outdated for about 2 years now. So you might find there's a little bit of a hassle with getting that done. But that said, if you're only seeing 1 or 2 things, you update them yourself on Facebook, you won't have this issue. This is designed for people who are not selling a lot of stuff, just selling a bit of stuff. And they might have a very low product range. If you're trying to sell 300 different items of skincare and cosmetics, this is probably not the solution for you. You're probably looking at something more like Shopify that will cost more, but is far more stable and far more geared towards the integrations with the major networks like Google, Facebook, Instagram, etc. Let's move on and take a look now. Let me just make it a bit smaller. And take a look at each one of these particular platforms. So let's move my little doodah out of the way. Now, Google Sites, when you log in, goes through your Gmail. So for instance, through your Google login, if I'm in my Gmail, let's close it off right now. And I want to go and see where Google Sites are. It's usually down here. Now, I've got a paid version of Google called Workspaces, but even on the free version, you can just go to sites.google.com, which opens up this pretty little interface, which gives you an idea of some templates that you could use. You can then open up a template gallery to give you a few more ideas of the kind of site that you want to build. So you may want to build something like, let's make it really, really simple. You've got an event coming up and you want to sell tickets to it. We can select an event. So it'll open up this editor window, and this editor window, now this, I'm going to tell you now, is probably the easiest website you're ever going to build, but it's very limited. But that said, they are quite beautiful, quite lean, and they're very easy to update. So let's just say my event is called, we'll call it an e-commerce workshop. So I can just go over the top of anything that's written in here and put my own words in there. I can say at the venue name, I can say at Cairns Convention Centre, and it's from Monday 18th January to Tuesday 19th January. So far so good, really easy to do. I can go down here and say it's a 2-day summit of everything about selling online. Then I can have my link going through to anywhere I like. Now, at the moment, this is going through to a Google form, but I can make this go through to, say, for instance, an Eventbrite link, or I'll go through to wherever you book your stuff, Humanitix or Sticky Tickets or local tickets, wherever you have your tickets going. You're not going to be able to take your ticket payments on here, but you can point off to a site where it will do that. So I might just change that from RSVP to book your place now. So you can see I can do those basic updates there. Now that I might want it a bit wider so it actually reads all that. And then I can move things around to a grid. So now that's in the center. I can move it off to another part of the grid. So that brings up the squares and the blocks, and I can move those around the way I want to. I can then give a description here. So I've got 3 things across here. I might want to delete this one. So I've only got 2 of them that I actually want to play with. Also noticing too that this is 3 across, and I can't change that unless I bring in another layout over on the right that is more appropriate to this. So let's bring out that layout. I'm going to pick up this part of it and put it into here. I just won't replace it because it's not the right shape, which is really annoying. So I can take basically day 1, copy that text in, put it down here. Day 1, day 2. Go back and actually undo that. I was doing well there for a second, wasn't I? Day 1, day 2. Let me change that to Monday, 18th. Tuesday, 19th. Typing is not as best today, is it? Add my little picture that I want to do, so I can select an image from what's already in the site. Or I can do a Google image search, and it'll bring up things that I'm allowed to use. So I'm going to put here e-commerce and search for an image in Google that fits e-commerce. So let's pay that one. Come on, in you go. And same with day 2, I'm going to insert my image over here too. Google image search, e-commerce, and maybe this one, and insert. So you can upload your own images from your desktop as well. So if you've got images saved that you want to do, you can do that. Question from Janine asking if Shopify integrates with Square. At the moment, it doesn't actually. Shopify's got their own payment process, and they integrate with, I believe, eWay and PayPal and a couple of others. But because they've got their own payment software, they do not integrate with Square at present, which is very annoying because Square is a lot cheaper than the ones that they use. So you really wish they would. So then I can replace any of these or remove them. So I'm going to remove this speakers area. Going to remove this area because I don't really need it. This great big image, don't really need that either. I have my day 1 and day 2. I might want to bring up my other sections. So when I created my day 1 and day 2 down here, I can grab this little widget and bring it up higher into the site. So it fits to where exactly I wanted it to be, which is just here. There we go. I can get rid of that day 1 and day 2, and then pretty much essentially get rid of all the other parts of the site that I don't need. 1, 2, there's a lot of parts of this site. It's a big layout. Come on. There we go. So now I've got the front page of my site. Now you go, well, that's great. I don't like yellow. That's fine too. There's other layouts and other themes that you can play with. So for instance, if I hit in this area, I've got a little palette on the head. It gives me the background of this. I can set it to what's set for this particular layout, which is this color, sort of like a champagne mushroomy pinkish kind of color. I can make it an emphasis area, which is just going to be sort of that gray white, or I can make an emphasis of that yellow. That's because of the theme I've chosen. Now I may want to change that theme. I don't like the fonts. I don't like any of that. I can go to themes over on the right, and I've got a certain number of themes with colors built into them. So if I want my e-commerce workshop to be blue, I just hit blue and the theme changes to a blue version. Or if I want to make it green, again, green version of it, gray, or I can then choose, and this is a fairly new thing, I can choose a particular color that suits me. So if you've got a brand color that you want to work with, you can do that as well. And when you do that, you can just go, and if you don't like that color on there, you just change your color of text. So you can go get regular and change that over so it looks like that. Or you can play with the text itself and change things like the style or the title. You may want it a bit bigger so it stands out a bit more. But changing the color of the text is kind of set by this. There are limits in here that what you can do. But one of the things I do enjoy doing is changing over the themes to something different. So I'll go to Diplomat, which is black and white, or I can change that color. Not all of these are going to allow you to change your color. This one does. I'll make it a bit less of a light teal, or maybe pull it into, I don't know, a bit of a magenta purple. And so I'm playing with very different colors palettes now, depending on the theme and the colors that I want to choose. Now, if I want to preview what this is going to look like in the real world, I can just simply go preview, and this is going to put it out there and show me this is what it looks like in the real world. And I can go even further and maybe show what that looks like on a mobile phone. Boom. So you know it's perfect layout on a mobile phone with a hamburger menu, all that sort of stuff. On a tablet, so you probably noticed that's not looking so great. Works okay with mobile. Tablet, a bit weird. So you may want to play with that a little. And then a large screen, of course, it's going to lay out to be perfectly in the place you want it to be. So you can then see what it looks like. If you want to then publish that, you hit publish, and then you tell it where you want to publish it to. So this is the entire address of where it's going, which is a really dumb address. Might be a little bit better for you because I'm using a domain and a paid version of Google Workspaces or G Suite. So it's always going to bring up my domain in there as well. So sites.google.com/clickstarter.com.au/ and then whatever the address I want to be. Not the friendliest address to be putting on a business card or sending to your friends or putting in a TV ad, but it may be something that doesn't matter to you because you're just using this as a landing page. And that's where I think Google Sites comes into its own. It's a great landing page builder because you've got a lot of control over the things you want to do. I'll just go back to the beginning and create something which is just a plain landing page. You see, it then has my recent sites in there that I can go in and update, or in the case of this one, I can just remove it altogether because I don't intend using it ever again. I can start with a blank site. Let's just say I'm building a landing page to collect details from people who are answering a lead generation ad that I might be placing on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or something like that. Gives me a basic layout and it says, what do you want to do with this? Do you want to start filling it out? Do you want to change the header? Give it a type, a heading first. We'll call it landing page or lead generation. And I'll go a theme, pick sort of which layout I want. Let's go Aristotle. Might change the feature color from this sort of khaki to maybe a green. Or if I want to make it a bit brighter, maybe my favorite color on the spectrum is FFCC00, which is an amber yellow. And it's one of the only ones I ever remember. I don't know why I remember the name of that, but I always do. I can then go in and change the image in the background of my header. So I've got a bunch of things that are in the gallery already that we can use. Let's change that one, or maybe get a bit of an office feel. So it changes that background. I can then change my title. Say fill in your details. And then I can move on to add other blocks. So if I want to add other blocks, say for instance, a bit of information about the particular details that I'm giving. Then I've got a whole bunch of different options down here that I can also add in. So if, for instance, I filled all this out and then I want to add in a button, I can add in a button. So add a button, make it book now, and link it through to eventbrite.com if I want to do that. Insert, and then figure out where I want that to sit on this whole grid. And then I can change backgrounds of things to emphasize different kinds of backgrounds for each section. This one might be a bright yellow, there you go. And as I do that, it's changed the color of that button. Then I can also link off something to a form. So if I want to include a Google form, this is another product just like Google Sites, where you can actually have a form that you integrate into your website or just use for any sort of purposes whatsoever. So for instance, the form that I built before for a group called Territory Proud that I volunteer for would be pretty good for this. It's like an entry form for a competition. It's a bit of a survey, and in it you then qualify for a competition. So I can insert that in, and it's brought the form within my website. So that's might be how you want to collect your leads. You might want to do it that way. And then it lays out, it fits in there nicely, and I can then sort of change things to sort of suit where I want to go with it. So you've got a landing page essentially there that you then publish, and then you get a particular web address for that. So let's say a preview of what this is going to look like. Bearing in mind, I'm probably going to have writing in there. booking now, and I've got my form down here that I can do some stuff in. I can make some answers. I can fill out all the details on that form like I would do with any form or any kind of survey. So it allows you to do some really cool stuff very, very quickly. When you do want to add on something like a domain name though, for a real website, then you're going to pay between $12 and I think $22 to be able to do that. And it's not the easiest of processes to go through. Unfortunately, I would not use this to build a website that needs to be found in Google, put it that way, that has a domain name. I use Google sites all the time to build landing pages for all sorts of things, such as collecting lead generation from ads that I'm running on Facebook or Instagram. I also use it for sort of off-site kind of pages where I want to sort of send a bit of information that's shared online and share that only to a very specific audience. I don't want it to be just found randomly by people on Google. I want to be able to go to this address, and this is where all the information for this particular thing is. It just means it's a very easy place, a very fast place to put together things like product information sheets, privacy policies, anything that you need very quickly that you don't have time to get your web developer to put in on WordPress or some other system like it. So what is it very good at doing? It's very good at those landing pages, the thing that's very, very simple and that's very, very easy to draw people to based upon a campaign that you're running somewhere else. When you're trying to do this as your primary website, this is a little bit limited. And when you do go to offer something like adding a domain name to it, is going to be a little bit more difficult, and it's going to take you a little bit longer to do it. Say, for instance, if I bring up this site again, my lead generation site, and I want to do something like add a domain to it, then I'm going to do something like in settings, and I want to look at some of what the settings are for this particular site. Then I can add on things like, let's share with others. Remember where it is. Here it is, somewhere in here where you add the domain. It's been a while since I've done it. I always thought it was in publish. And in the case of where you can make it a private site, so you can share it only for people who have specific access to Google accounts, or I can make it so that it's people within my domain name, clickstarter.com.au, only they can view it. Otherwise, I can then change it out to go, anybody can view it at all. I can make editors able to change things if I want to share my team to be able to make changes. So there's a few more advanced things in there you can do, but the adding of a domain name, I'm just trying to find where they've got it. The brand images, no. It's not where it used to be. I seem to have moved it off somewhere else. No, I'll have to have a look for that later on. It used to be a very simple thing. Well, a very simple thing to find. It just wasn't such a simple thing to be able to do. So you might have to, funnily enough, Google the answer to that to find out where it is you add a domain name to. So as far as simple web builders, that is probably the simplest, easiest one you're going to find. None of them are quite that easy and that simple. What we will go to next, though, is Wix. So if you are wanting to do a website that is a little bit more has a few more features, has a lot more layouts and a lot more options, Wix is a really good option for you. It's the world's biggest web builder aside from WordPress. So it's very well worked out and a lot of people use it. Now, Wix used to have a bad reputation for being very slow to load and having terrible search engine optimization features. That's changed drastically now. It's one of the fastest websites to load now, as long as you keep it fast. And it's one of the best for updating where you want all your SEO information in, so you can very adequately describe how you want your site to show up on Google, including the descriptions and the titles and all that. Is quite, I'm not going to say the easiest thing to do, but it's very capable of doing that kind of thing. So in here, I've signed up a free account with this. I don't have any sites on here at the moment. I'm going to create a new site. And at the moment, for the building of a site and to having a site is absolutely free. And one of the easiest ways to do that is just to pick what is the site that you want to do. So I'm going to pick, let's see, a beauty and wellness page. So I can put in a few easy questions and answers, and their artificial intelligence is going to build a website for me. I've never had a case where that's actually built me anything decent. So I always go to choosing a template because I think we're all visual learners and we prefer to be able to choose something that we think is very cool. So if we look at this and go, okay, in this particular area of health and well-being, what is the thing that really sort of stands out to me? If there's am I a trainer? Am I someone working in medical? Am I someone who's a counselor or a nutritionist? Probably this one for a nutritionist. I can go, okay, what does this look like? Okay, it looks kind of nice. I do like the look of that. Very clean layout, very beautiful, very nicely done. Got all the bits I want to do in it. I can view a full demonstration of that site as well. So this is what it's going to look like. And then I can add all my stuff onto it. So it's actually quite a beautiful site with lovely sort of slow loading. It's got a booking system in it. Now, I'll tell you now, this booking system, you're not going to get that for free. That's going to cost you extra to do that. But you can add things like all these other things, your blogs, all those sort of things are able to be added for free, but some things are going to cost you. So let's say we're going to edit this one. We're going to make this into a site of our own. So you close a couple of windows here. It brings up the Wix website editor that allows us to drag and drop and change things as we're going. So we want to change colors, change fonts, change photos. We've got the ability to do all of that. So let's take a look inside this one. So we've got the be happy, be healthy. Might change that to be the best you that you can be. So as I push that in, it's going to push some stuff down. It gives you a few tool tips along the way. I might want to change some stuff. So I might want to go, well, that background picture, let's look at the column background. It's got this picture in it. I might want to change that to something else, maybe someone doing yoga. Or I can pick out something else in that sort of, maybe something that's very stylized like the avocado. I like the avocado. And you can change that potentially with a photo of yourself. So I'll find another photo of a woman. Someone smiling, someone having a look. No, not really finding any of that. So the backgrounds that are in there, it's not really a lot. You can load up your own though. So you want to load up an image, you can then, okay, I want to load up an image that's one I've got of my own. Now they do allow you into Unsplash, which is a free stock photo service, or you can pay for stuff from Shutterstock. I would just say either Unsplash, which gives you some really good options, or media from Wix, which is stuff that they've got in their own stock image library. That's also very good, but it may not be quite what you're looking for. So we look at something like Unsplash. Let's see what we can find. We can find a photo of a person. Let's just pick them out, that beautiful couple. And then we change the people that we want to have in there to something else. And then we continue on to where we want to go. So we can then change any of these items in here. Better health, better wealth. And I might want to change things like some colors. So if I look at that button, I might say, I don't really like that button. Book a session is fine, but I can change the design of that by going, okay, what are the designs that are already built in there? Not really loving all that colors. I want to get, so more of the purples that sort of tie in with this mauve that's down here, or the lavender, whatever you want to call it. I just go for the fill color and change it to something which suits me more. So if I want that lavender, I've now got the lavender. Change that, boom, I got a different color button. As I go down further, I can do the same thing. If in doubt, double click, and this is saying that you can change it to my story, or it brings up a contextual menu. So if you tap on the element, so the button, it gives you a little menu of items up here. I'm going to select the design again, and once again, it's picked out one of the things I've already picked. So I'll pick that one, which is the one I want. Boom, I've now got a whole different feature color for my website. And you go on until you find the things that you want to change and the things you want to do. Now, this particular layout has got more than one page. It's got philosophy, resources, blog. You can access those pages once you've done this one. Let's save our work first. It does sort of save as you're going along. And if you try to get out of the page, it will say that you want to do that. Now, here we have the problem that comes with the domain name on Wix. You can connect your own domain name, which is fine if you go and buy it elsewhere, or you buy it through Wix yourself, or you get your free Wix domain, which is, at the moment, mine is Dante St James 7.wixsite.com/my site. I can change that to health, but it's still a really long, convoluted address to be able to put on a business card or to explain to someone or to have Google find. Now, for the sake of a free website, this may not matter to you. Just like in Google Sites, you don't care what the address is, as long as you can build the site you want to build. And in the initial stages of building a site, even if you're going to pay to have a domain in there, you don't have to do that straight away. We can just go, let's just do the free Wix domain for now. We can always upgrade it later to have enhanced things like domain names available. So as we can see, we've got all these pages at the top. Yes, I know, we're saved. Thank you very much. All these pages at the top we want to access. We don't click on the menu to get to them because all that will do is edit the menu layout. We go over here to where the pages are. We can switch our pages to the pages that are also on there. So philosophy is this page, and I can see now what I want to work on with this. So things like making this a bigger heading, maybe 50. If I want to make that a little bit bigger, if I want to change the background here, I'm not really happy with the strip background. So I can change the page background to an image if I want to, or even a video. So we're going to try putting a motion video in there, which is like the sea moving. So you might not be able to see that too easily, but you can see there's like motion in the background. So if I was going to preview this page, see there's a motion in there. Now, I'll warn you now that if you do want to have these kind of effects on it, it will slow down the loading of your page, and it's not going to help your SEO at all. And it's going to make it quite annoying for people. I try to avoid putting things like videos in backgrounds and just stick to quite plain page backgrounds, or at the very least, something which is like a very plain picture. Maybe like this wave is something very, very neat and tidy. Or I can just go for my light purple I had before, a light teal, or choose a color that you wanted to. You can add a different color in there as well and pick what you want to have in there. For now, I'm just going to have a very light purple that they've already got, and I'm happy with that. You can then move things around. Now, things are laid out in the way this can look best with this particular layout. When you start going and going, well, this doesn't look right, I want this in the middle. You start moving things around, you start messing with stuff. Where things are right now is where they are best placed to be able to lay out for the most amount of layout. So whether it's a mobile or a desktop. Now, one of the things that Wix does very well allows you to display very different things for desktop and mobile. This is the desktop layout, looks great. Really, really happy with how that looks. But then what we might find is that I might go, well, what does it look like on mobile? Let's take a bit of a lookie. On mobile, yep, it's going to customize a few things. Come on, get past. Yeah, past. Back to the editor. And we see on mobile, it's a very different looking beast. Nowhere near as attractive, and it's a lot more squished up. And this is where you realize, oh, maybe I've got way too many words on my page. Maybe I need half of those many words. Because when I go back to the desktop layout, it looks fine. It doesn't look like that many words at all. But considering that these days, most of your traffic is probably going to happen on a mobile phone, popping in there and seeing there's too many words will probably spur you to go, I probably need to get some less words on that page. Now, you can have a different layout altogether on mobile to desktop. You don't even have to have certain items. So for instance, I might want to go, well, on my desktop, I might want to have my story, but I don't want to show the process. I don't want that showing at all in the mobile. So I'll go into my mobile site and I can actually hide this process area from mobile. So it completely removes it. It's only showing on desktop. So I go to desktop, it's still going to be there, the process. But when I go to mobile, the process is no longer there. It's been taken out. So that's one way you can have a very different layout. You can also have elements that you add into just here. So I can add in buttons on the desktop, but hide them from the desktop and only having them showing on mobile. Now, this is pretty advanced stuff. If you want to go that deeply into it to create a very different layout, what I would do if I was you is stick to the layouts that have been given to you, the templates that are on here, and just replace the text, replace your headings, replace the photos, and do what you can to make sure you've set up everything in the way you possibly have had done. So just make sure you set it up in the best way you possibly can set it up using the layouts that are actually there. So do that, and then you'll be on your way to building a really nice website. Now, You can add more features and functions to a page. You can change the themes of a page. You can add different apps. Now, by apps, you want to add in, these things are going to cost you a monthly cost. So you're going to say add something like, for instance, MailChimp forms. You will require a premium site that you're paying for each week, each month to be able to do that. So it might be $9 or $14 or $36 a month that allows you then to add this free one. So that's free to add, but you need to have a premium site subscription with Wix to be able to get it. Some other things such as getting Google ads in there, again, requires a premium site required, but you'll have some other things like designing and selling on-demand products that they've got a free plan for that as well. So Printful is like an external service that has an integration that will fit in there. So you want to sell prints and you want to sell t-shirts and that sort of thing with Printful as your provider. They've got an integration that allows you to add their integration into the site. A free version of it, but you'll probably find that you need to have an account with them completely so far overall. Now, some of those different apps include things like booking calendars, e-commerce. So you can go things like selling online, and it'll give you Wix stores. You can then integrate with other things like a PayPal button, which could be useful for people to send you money. You can put in something like a pricing plans column. So say, you know, for $30 a month with me, you get this. For 45, you get this. For 72, you get this. All lined up, showing a comparison side by side. Here, there's a paid plan comparison as well. These are all layouts and different things that allow you to add so much more in there. You've got a Xero account for your books. There is an integration with that too. Or if you've got an Amazon store already and you want to have your own website to display your Amazon stuff on, there's an Amazon tie-in here as well, which is free to add in. So you just add in the things you want to, and it will give you a layout on a particular page, and often gives you widgets that you can insert onto different pages. So whilst it will create a new page for that Amazon viewing, you can take pieces of that and display it on this page by inserting something through the plus, add, and I'll tell you what things you actually have got to be able to add, which will include things like blog layouts, videos and music that you can import from things like Spotify, SoundCloud, Wix Music, lists of layouts that you think look good that you want to add in there. So some of those things can include the things that are in your store if you're using a store. A layout box, if you want to just go, I want to add a shape onto my website, I can do that as well. And then things like contact forms. So they've got a bunch of these. They've got things where you can access donations, which are done through particular payment providers. You'd have maps from Google if you want to map in there as well. You can add in a world of additional stuff, but all you really need to do is make sure that you don't mess with your layout too much. A lot of these layouts will have things included in them that meant that the site of the page is done the best possible way it can be. If I go to the book online page that they've got built into this one, I can see they've already got a shopping cart built in there, or a booking calendar built in there. So if I was to go and preview that, I can see what that kind of looks like. I'm going to book now an initial consultation, which leads me into a form where I can fill out and select a calendar. The problem is though, that you need a business premium plan with Wix to be able to access this particular thing. So it's only available to you if you upgrade to a paid account. So there's some things you're not going to be able to do as part of the free account with Wix, but a lot of this layout and design stuff you can actually get. But the booking online, you need to pay extra for that. So a business premium account is probably going to be, well, let's have a look at it. Business premium account, Wix. And we can see if you want to get that kind of stuff in it on a monthly basis, you're not going to get it for free, but you're going to get it. So business premium, of course, they don't have anything called business premium. Business here, they don't have a business premium account. This is what really frustrates me about Wix sometimes. What they say, it'll be at least $14 a month. So at the cheapest, $14 a month, or $18 or $19, depending upon what you're going to get. So that's what they call a business premium account, is one of those options in there. So again, not going to break the bank, and it's US dollars. So mind you, that 19 is going to be more like 26 and that 14 is going to be more like 20. The 18 is going to be more like, $25. But that said, it's still a lot cheaper than what you will do with getting a website developed by someone on WordPress or Joomla or something like that. So you work around and work out how to use Wix. It will take you time. You're not going to get this the first go. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have to be doing that back button a whole lot to undo your mistakes. But it will eventually get there. This is a bit more of a learning curve than Google, but not quite as much as something like Facebook. It's not Facebook. WordPress. WordPress is a much bigger learning curve that you're going to have to play with than this one. So as we move along to some of the other systems we're looking at is the Square integration with Weebly. Now, Weebly is very, very similar to Wix in that it allows you to be able to set up a lot of very premium features, but it does give you a basic sales option as well. As long as you've got a Square account and you're able to connect that and accept that you're going to be paying fees upon what you're going to be charging, then you'll understand that it's free to have the site, free to set it up, free to host it, but the payment side of it, you will have to still pay fees, though you're not paying an additional fee to have an online store. So for example, let's sell some physical items. And it's going to give us some options of how to set it up. Are we going to ship these things? Are we going to allow people to pick up? Are we going to allow delivery? Probably not. Or are we going to allow self-service ordering so people can scan a QR code, for instance, and it'll allow them to order it? At the moment, we'll say we're going to ship things and we're going to allow pickup. So let's do that. Do we want a single page? Do we want a shoppable Instagram page? So if we want to have something so people can actually go into Instagram and tap on a product to be able to see what a product is. So for instance, on Instagram, you've put in a selection of 30 different products that are showing what they look like, and you want to be able to import those in to create a better looking website that's going to sell that stuff, but also have them taggable within Instagram. That's great as well. Or you can get the full website and online store. Now, in the case of freebies, you're going to want the single shopping page. Remembering that this is not a place to build your empire. This is a place to build your first online store the easiest way possible. I've got to log into my account, which hopefully it's going to let me do. It's going to struggle. It all comes down to how well I prepared myself before this session. So it's now building my store using my account. First thing it's going to do, it's saying there's terms of service I want to read, yep, and privacy notice I want to read, yep, get rid of that. This is for a thing called water and waste plumbing. So there's a thing I might have set up for them specifically to see what their site was. If they've finished their setup, I can then go into the website on the left, look at an overview of that website. So it's going to give me what it basically looks like. This is currently not published. This is one I've played with before, but I can now edit that website. So let's edit. And it brings open a very similar looking layout to a lot of the different page builders you'll find elsewhere. So we've got water and waste, premium plumbing, all the information about them. It's already been set in place. And they're going to be hosting some Google ads in there as well, which I'm going to remove from. They don't need that. And then I can adjust any of these items that I want. So water and waste, I might want to add on the word plumbing. I might want to add in something of a different color, perhaps. Make it sort of yellow so it stands out a bit more. So you can do a lot of these things. You can make a lot of changes to things like backgrounds. So we've got a background there. I want to edit the background. I can have an advanced effect, or probably the easiest thing to do is replace that with something else. So I can load up a version from it, or I can tag an image that's somewhere else on the internet, or I can do a search for images and go water. And put in something like that, which is a bit darker maybe. Nope, that's even worse. But you get the idea. You can change these images out to something that suits you better. It's got a bit of a background there. Am I liking that? Yep, that I can live with. Looks fine. And then I can make any changes I need to make along the way if I wanted to, say, for instance, insert something. Now, if I want to insert something a bit more, like a store, I've got the e-commerce section over here on the left where I can insert products and categories. So what I might want to do in here somewhere is insert products. But the problem is my plan doesn't include this because it hasn't been set up as an original site for this. But it allows me to then set up things like products and categories. There's additional, like Wix, there's apps you can add on there. So you can use different apps to do different things. I see that printful things come up again. So that's something which is on Wix that you can do in the Weebly Square site as well. And when you set up, so let me close that off again. If I want to set up another page that's got my sales on it. So what I really want to need to do is I need to get rid of this site altogether and set up a brand new one, because it's probably stopping me from doing what I want to do here. So I can look at the orders that are coming through. If I was running a shop on here, I can see there's orders coming through. What I really want to do is I want to add a site. Here we go. I want to create a new store. This is better. I need a website with an online store. I'm going to call it My Shop. I'm not selling yet. I'm going to be selling within 0 to 3 months, and I'm going to be selling clothing. I'm located at 39 Kavanagh Street, Darwin City, 66 if you really want to stalk me. And it's going to build a store around that and then give me the option to add in things. So it's got things like, okay, my dashboard, which has everything, but I want to design my white website. What I might want to do though first is actually put some items in my store. So I want to do that. I'm going to have to create what those items are. So I'm going to create one item first and call it a physical item, which is called red dress. It's going to cost $55. The sale price, if I wanted to put it on sale, I can do that as well. I can upload a photo of a red dress from somewhere. Let me just pick one out somewhere on Google for now. Let's pick out this one. It looks pretty. Yep, I like that. I'm going to go back to my store and upload an image of a red dress. Now, of course, you wouldn't be looking for these red dress photos on Google. You'd be putting a photo of your red dress. This is a red dress, and it's really pretty. I'm a much better copywriter than this usual. We can say that shipped, or it can be for pickup. You need to upgrade to enable pickup. So this is where you need to pay, but if you're shipping things out, that's fine. You get a free version. This is it's going to be a 1 kilo, oh, it's going to be that heavy, maybe 0.5 pounds. I don't do pounds, but that's fine. You can track stock on it. They're saying that you've got 32 of them, not 320. So every time it sells one, the cost of it is basically the cost to you. So if it's costing you, if it's costing them 55 and you buy it for, I don't know, 25, it's going to calculate things like margins. If you've got a stock keeping unit number, you can put that in there as well. Then you can add things like colors and sizes. So we want to go size, and we go select the size you want. We can add small, medium, large, extra large, extra large. You can tell I'm a guy because I'm not talking women's clothing sizes here at all, am I? And you can enter a unique name to reuse this option set on other items. So we can just say this is clothing sizes. So it's just saying that I can use that set of sizes on other items when I want to do it later on. I can then say how many of them I've got, if it's a different cost for them all, if it's all the same. Out of that 32, let's just say I've got 6 in stock at small, 6 in medium, 8 in large, 2 in extra large, 12 in extra large, because we just have a lot of them. And we can say if they're all the same price. So unfortunately, the process of setting up a shop does take a long time because you've got to do a lot of this kind of stuff. You've got to populate it with your products. You've got to populate it with the variations, all that sort of thing. Now we've got that one. You can have modifiers, which are things like if you have a long length or a short length that comes in that size, whether you've got a cool touch cotton or brushed Egyptian cotton or Indian cotton, if you've got different things. And then for your search engine optimization, which is probably not going to work that great when you've got a free site anyway, you can put in, for instance, the specific description here that you want to show up in Google for your particular product. So you might want to go, this is the red dress you've been looking for. And that's what will show up in search results. And you can then have another description in there to make it a bit more. I can then make the link to that specific product be at the end of my email, at the end of my website address, to be red dress best, something like that. Save that, and I've now got the first product that's in my particular item library that I'm going to be putting into the ability to be able to then add more. Now you can add as many items as you like. You can then upgrade to a starter plan, which is going to cost you to be able to sell online. At the moment, we're just doing the free version, which is happening through Square. This has kind of kicked me over into Weebly, not into Square sites. So if you go through Square, squareup.com, it will give you the free version of it. This unfortunately has not done the Square version, has gone through the other way through a confusion of logging in. This is where free things actually really do fall down, is that I've now logged into what I thought was Square sites, but it's actually Weebly sites because they're the same thing. The problem is if you go through Weebly, it's not free. If you go through Square, it is free. It's crazy, I know. So if you've got a Square site, and in the case of a Square account, I don't have one, so it wouldn't allow me to do it. You've got to get a Square account first, and then you log in using your Square account. But the setup of it all is all the same. You will not see this upgrade message if you are using it through Square. It looks exactly the same layout, the same way in. You just got to do it through Square's website, not through Weebly's website. So if I can put anything through to you as possible, go to squareup.com to do this, not weebly.com. Even though they have the same service, you're going through Square, you get the e-commerce stuff for free because you've got a Square account. If you don't do that, it's going to cost you a little bit more. And to upgrade it to a starter plan is going to base it on the cost of, it's not going to be a lot because Weebly's pretty cheap. Any moment now, Weebly, you can do it. This is one other thing that's been accused of Weebly being quite slow as well. So you can connect your domain at $6 a month. You go pro for that, but you really want a business site, and that's going to cost you $28 Australian per month. So that's just through Weebly, but through Square, that level there is going to come through for free, and you're not accepting payments through PayPal. You'll be accepting payments through Square. So if I go back to the actual Square site, so we go Square Up. Anytime you're ready, here we go. And we're going to go probably Weebly Square. Look for it this way, sorry. Here we go, this one. There you go. So it'll give you fee-free processing in your first $500 of payments as well. So when you first get it set up, so this is where you'll go. If you go to weebly.com/squareau, I'm going to put that into the chat window so you can follow that through as well. And once you know where that is, you'll be able to then start that free version in there. So, but you do have to set up Square first in order to get that fee-free processing and to make it a free store. So it does integrate really nicely between, if you're using Square as your market payment process, or you've got it plugged into a phone or a tablet that you're able to run your in-person sales, it integrates with that. It means that also it's going to integrate your inventory. So if you've got 32 red dresses and you sell one at the market, so you've still got 31 that are sitting in your inventory online available to be sold. So that's one of the advantages to be able to do this. Now, whilst this is free to start with when it's through the Square option, you are eventually going to be paying for this. So it's only really getting you started. You're not going to open up a real legitimate, trustworthy store with a weird, long domain name. You're only going to be able to do it when you've actually got a full-blown, working, definitely legitimate looking store that has it's got its SSL, so it's got a secure marker in the browser, and it's going to have a proper domain name so it looks real. This is really, if you're just getting started and you want to learn something very fresh and very new, and you're looking just to get your toe in the water to see how you can start off with the most easy to build and free e-commerce site that you can. That said, like I said, before long, you're going to have to be paying for it, because you're going to want to go, well, people are asking for PayPal, I need PayPal. Oh, great, I have to pay for that. Oh, people are wanting to know if I can do this particular kind of shipping and add a special message to it. You're going to pay for that. So when you get to all those premium things, no matter what you do with, whether it's Shopify, BigCommerce, Weebly, any of those, you're going to have to pay for it. But starting off, this is a great way to do it. You can also start off by doing a little bit free for things like Wix. So you can start off with them free and add in things like a store and start designing it. Before you can actually start selling though, you will have to pay for that to be a monthly cost. Got a good question for Chris here. For Wix, do I need to buy a domain first? That's a good question. If you just want a .com, then you won't need to do that. If you need a .com.au, you will need to buy it first. So through some like Crazy Domains or Net Registry or names.com or hover.com, any of those kind of domain name retailers, they will sell you a domain name that you're able to then attach to your Wix account. Wix, it's actually easier if you just go for a .com through Wix, because it does it all in one database and one dashboard, and you don't have to go to multiple places to do that. And it's also not changes you have to make in a technical setting to your domain name. So if you really want to go with Wix, I would say just do a .com, because it just handles it a lot easier, and it's a much easier thing to manage, and it's all in one payment at one time, and you don't have to worry about going to multiple different places to do it. But yeah, domain names, if you go to something like, I use Crazy Domains, only because I find that they're very, very good at domains. They're not good at anything else. Don't host your website with them. They're terrible. But if you wanted to host just a domain with them, going with them is probably one of the safer ones to go with, because they do that very well and it's not expensive to do it. So you go to crazydomains.com.au and you can start that process in there, or any of the other domain providers. That just happens to be the one that I prefer to use. So that now brings us to the end of this particular presentation. I hope you've got some sort of value out of that. You're able to look at it and go, well, I can start to do a free website. Eventually though, if you want to be legit and you want to be real and you want to be out there and you want to be selling and being seen as a real business, then you're eventually going to have to pay for something. But at least if you want to muck around and have a bit of a play with stuff, Wix is good for that. If you want to just have landing pages that you don't care what the address looks like, Google Sites is great. If you want to get yourself started with a website that's got e-commerce capabilities, the Square integration with Weebly is probably the fastest, easiest place to start from. So thank you again. And thank you also to Business Station and the Australian Small Business Advisory Services Digital Solutions Program in conjunction with Regional Development Australia, Brisbane and Treaty Business Consulting. And I'll see you again as we continue this series of free webinars, all thanks to the ASBAS Digital Solutions Program. Thank you and have a great week.